we've got here on stage. We welcome Zabir Makhdoumi, the Director of B2B, Channel Partner and Alliances of the Free Zones Authority of Ajman. Great to see you here. Neelam Sharma, the Managing Partner of Nija Corporate Services. Wonderful to see you on stage again. Danish Kazi, the Senior Associate of BSA Law. Thank you so much. And down the end, Jigar Sagar, the Founder of Treelive Holdings. Thank you for being here. Could we get a round of applause for our four panellists that we've got on stage for this discussion? Jigar, considering you're down the end, I might be a bit different this time and start at the back and we'll work your way up. You've had tremendous success across the UAE. You've launched an incredible 31 ventures. But as an entrepreneur and someone who also is an investor, according to you, what are the biggest advantages of investing in the UAE, particularly working with free zones?
If you look at the UAE landscape, and anytime and every time I've thought of launching a good-based business where there's a movement of physical goods happening, I can't possibly think of a better place than UAE based on how it's strategically positioned. We're in between the Africa region and the Indian subcontinent, and if you just look at around the population that we cater to, add to it the infrastructure that's been made available to us through the ports, whether it's Jebel Ali Free Zone, whether it's Dubai Airport Free Zone, it allows for such seamless movement of goods. It removes all the friction for people like me who are entrepreneurs. Now, at the same time, when I look at a service-based industry, whether it's my tech investments, whether it's investments in AI products, or even putting out softwares for economic cities, what we have seen is that there's been a tremendous aspiration within the leadership team of the UAE to embrace new technologies. They are risk takers. It's one thing that they are leaders of this country, but I feel that they're the best business people out there in the world to be in true sense. So they understand trade and commerce, and they understand the benefit of entrepreneurship. They understand the benefit of creating unicorns from within. So you have initiatives like Make Within UAE. But if you boil it down to the free zone level, they allow for us to have specific sector-focused platforms, whether it's the healthcare platform, whether it's the e-commerce platform. You have an end-to-end channel made available to you as an entrepreneur.
Yeah. So you're having opportunities and you're dealing with leaders that are entrepreneurs themselves, so they've got that experience. Dinesh, your experience with BSA Law, we've seen the UAE drawing investors from all over the world thanks to its strong legal framework, and also it's the location, as Jigar mentioned, and the tax regime. But over the last few years, how has the legal landscape in the UAE changed and evolved?
This is a fabulous country which has gone through so much tremendous change. To begin with, let me tell you that the highlight of my day is when I wake up and when I open up the Gulf newspaper and I see the amount of innovation, the amount of regulatory changes that are happening within the region, and that is mesmerizing for me. So just to give a little perspective to the discussion, the biggest landmark change that had happened in recent times is for the local companies not to have a local shareholder and the foreigners to own 100% of the businesses. I think that has tremendously increased investments in this country, hugely. But if we talk about the free zones, there has been a discussion lately about consolidating the regulations for all the free zones. I think that is a great step in the right direction, because obviously as of now we have different free zones and we have different set of regulations for those free zones, which is why sometimes the SMEs face some sort of difficulty in trying to address that problem. But once it is consolidated and once it falls under a single umbrella, I think that is going to be a remarkable change for the businesses and how they can prosper. Lately, I think there's been a lot of focus by the leadership of this country on the transparency, which is why we have seen huge focus on the regulations for the beneficial owners, which is something very great, and which is something which ensures transparency and which is something which ensures that the international investors have a lot of confidence in the region. Yeah. As if we see today, as His Excellency very rightly mentioned, that ADGM and EIFC are at the forefront of these regulatory changes, which is why we are seeing a huge influx of the fund managers coming in the region. Every day I open up the newspaper and I see a new hedge fund from the US or the UK entering into UAE, which is huge.
Yeah, Dinesh, I think that's a great point. A lot of people might look over confidence in the region, the confidence they have in the business environment, in the leaders, you know, the confidence in the investment of trying to minimise any investor's risk. So I thank you for those points, Dinesh. Neelam, you're working for Nija Corporate Services. You speak to a lot of startups and a lot of entrepreneurs. When you look at different business activities, what type of business activities or industries do you think are best suited to UAE free zones? And then how do these free zones work with these startups to try and suffice their needs?
UAE free zones are catering to more than 2,200 activities, I believe. And if to name some, they are the activities into media, technology, AI, travel, real estate. These are the activities which people are taking up a lot. And all free zones, they are catering to different type of activities and giving a well-defined ecosystem to run the businesses. And for the startups specifically, I would like to say free zones are giving very good startup packages. They are coming up with lucrative schemes. So it's easy for startups to start any activity with the free zones, and there are the guidelines, and it's easy.
Yeah, so there's opportunity there. And we've heard obviously from the three of you about why the UAE and why free zones are so attractive. But in your work, Zubair, you're working with the Free Zone Authority of Ajman. What specifically is different, do you find, about your work? What are the unique benefits that you provide to investors that are looking to work within the UAE?
I'll structure my answer into two parts. Firstly, me and my team have this privilege of meeting global investors on a daily basis, and we also get to travel a lot. And just to highlight what His Excellency had already mentioned, the impact of initiatives like BRICS and SEPA with 12 different countries has substantially made our job very, very easy in order to convince investors to come and experiment with UAE as a country in general and the region in particular. Ajman Free Zone is the second oldest free zone in the country. Jebel Ali was the first one, and we have a huge clientele base. We used to be leaders in garments industry. We used to manufacture a lot of garments and export to different countries. But since then, we have widened our reach and our activity list. And at this point in time, we encompass almost everything in terms of the sectors and other technologies that are there. We have a very strong regulatory framework, being a designated free zone. And we take reforms of regulatory frameworks that are done at the federal level very, very seriously, and we implement them to the Nikken core. And free zone market generally is growing at an unprecedented pace. The figures are going to be, if I'm not wrong, around $70 billion at the end of 2030. Wow. That will be the contribution of free zones to the GDP of the country as a whole. So I think we are on the right trajectory, and I think I see this sector growing at an ever-evolving pace, and the indicators are quite positive.
Yeah, thank you, Zubair. I think it's positive on every single metric that you're looking towards. Back down the end, Jiggy, your experience, as we said, it's been so successful, as we said, 31 ventures. But if someone comes to you and they want to be a part of this great opportunity in the UAE, they want to be an investor, they want to be a part of this collaborative environment, what's that first bit of advice that you have for either an investor or an entrepreneur that's looking to start a venture in the UAE?
Right. I think one of the first things we need to look at is that even though UAE geographically is a small area, what you need to take into consideration that it is a melting pot. You have people from different demographics, different status class available over here. So if you are going to launch a product or a service, please ensure that you're going to do it for the globe and have an MVP first. And there is no better place to launch an MVP than UAE in today's day and age. Because if you can succeed in the UAE market, you will definitely succeed globally, because you would encompass the world.
Does that not present a challenge of you trying to get enough funds together and you want to get through your first 12 months, but at the same time you've got to be thinking globally?
Right, so that's why you have to be wise with your cash flow in terms of when you go to the MVP. So for example, when we build tech products, whether it's our partnerships with the free zones, our partnerships with the government, where we offer permit as a service, we started it small. We started it with providing a tech platform in the UAE for corporate services first, before scaling it up to be able to generate AI-based trade licenses, out there, and UAE being at the forefront of doing it today. It is about being sensible, but at the same time, if you're not thinking global anymore, you will be washed out.
So you've got to be thinking big, thinking about the bigger picture.
You have to do it rather than just think about it as an entrepreneur. I think it's important that the action is more important than just the thought, because there are millions of people out there who are thinking about it. The winners are those that do it. Yeah,
it's not right to just manifest it. You've got to work on it as well. Dinesh, in your experience legally, a lot of people are coming from different countries to the UAE. What are some of those concerns for different companies in the UAE when it comes to adhering to legal processes? I mean, what's your advice on why legal experts of someone who, as you said, Jigger said, they want to suddenly start a business but think globally? How do they navigate the legal system in the UAE?
So please understand that obviously the lawyers play a very important part in everyone's life. Given that this is a transforming economy, and obviously there are so many regulatory updates, there are so many changes in the law. Very recently we saw that the labor law has been updated, and obviously a lot of positive changes has come in. I think it is very important for the employers and for the businesses to understand those changes, and maybe sometimes the SMEs, obviously might miss out those updates and may be facing some fines or some penalties. So I think it is very important for them to approach lawyers and to have the right advice in place in order to ensure that they're not in non-compliance to any aspect of the business. Secondly, I think with respect to the contractual arrangements, it is very important because obviously there are a lot of businesses which are involved in cross-border transactions. So for that, I think it is very important for you to understand that there is a lawyer who can ensure that you are contractually covered against any losses with respect to the dispute resolution, because obviously sometimes, it's the preference of the business not to end up in the local courts. They would want to go in DIFC or English law, common law jurisdiction. Yeah. So us as lawyers can ensure that, your agreements are airtight, you are protected that way. Thirdly, I think there has been a lot of focus in this country on a strong corporate governance for businesses, for the board of directors. You need to have the right corporate governance framework to ensure that you're not in non-compliance to any law. And the board of directors need to have a proper advice of their fiduciary duties, of how to fulfill those fiduciary duties. There's been a lot, there are a lot of reported judgments now on DIFC and ADGM whereby directors have been found in breach of the fiduciary duties. So in order to avoid that, there is a need for a strong corporate governance framework that is there. Fourthly, I think the law firms and the professionals, they are well connected and with in contact with the free zones, with the regulators, and that is how we can ensure that you don't come across any hiccups in your businesses and how you want to carry it.
Yeah, and I think that's a very solid point, to be able to not just get someone's legal experience, but tap into their network and their resource, and so to be able to facilitate things, because it's hard enough to start up your own business.
Absolutely.
And that's half why insuring into someone with experience that's done that before you is so key. We're going to be speaking a lot about tax later on. I know that our next keynote speech, we will be talking about how to tame the tax dragon. So tax is always an interesting point. To you, Neelam, when it comes to UAE free zones, we're talking about the 9% coming in, but how do some free zones offer this 0% corporate tax benefit to businesses?
This is a well-defined strategic move by the visionaries of the UAE, I must say, to provide a very safe and conducive environment to the startups and the people, those who are investing into UAE. Low tax policies or the very safe tax environment gives opportunities to the entrepreneurs across the globe to put down their investments into the right place. So they have a peace of mind from the taxes. It has attracted a lot of crowd across the globe. I must say the hobby-based entrepreneur activities are booming at an unprecedented rate, as you can hear about the influencer license, which is something we just recently heard. So tech is something very important for every country, and we must applaud the visionaries for this move. And they have a well-defined set of this, and there are certain designated free zones that are completely tax-free. That guidelines are provided, and there are the people to handhold, the people to consultants and people like mediatories to help people with the tax things.
Yeah, I think so. We'll be touching on that more right across the afternoon here at today's conference. Ajman Free Zone, we know you've been in business since 1988. Zubair, for a lot of businesses that are looking to kind of engage with the Ajman Free Zone, how do you specifically support and promote entrepreneurs that are coming in? You work with a lot of businesses, but for a lot of people that are looking to have that support and to be an entrepreneur, what are the specifics about the Ajman Free Zone that you can offer?
Again, I'll have to divide the answer into two parts. One is what is happening at the federal level. As His Excellency during his keynote speech said, make it in the Emirates for those coming in the manufacturing sector. Access to finance via EDB Bank and other banks has, from a regulatory point of view, become very, very easy. So people can leverage those platforms. But from a free zones point of view, we can't give them money to start. But what we can do is, and what we do is, that we do a lot of networking and matchmaking events. Because when you have a legacy of 15,000 odd customers, this knowledge sharing becomes very, very important. So we do a lot of matchmaking events in which people share ideas as to what is happening, how was their journey, so on and so forth. And I think that creates a conducive environment for people to come and test waters. And as Jigar said, UAE is a gateway into Africa, into Far East and Asia. We should not, as entrepreneurs, look at just the UAE market. It's just a test bed for you to explore and go global. But
that can often be a challenge to some entrepreneurs, because a lot of businesses make the mistake of growing too quickly. So you saying that that's where the idea of working with a free zone, you're tapping into a network with people of experience so you can have the balance with your growth plan.
No, absolutely. Look, there are, if you look at trading sector, there are a lot of Indian customers I know who have been in the business for 15, 20 years, who started in the Emirates, sold into the local UAE market, expanded into Saudi, Oman, Qatar, Bahrain, and then they're testing waters with Africa now, right? And for someone, a new entrepreneur coming in from Asia, buying goods from China, selling into other countries, needs to understand this, that UAE is a very, very competitive market. Getting into the market is not very easy, but it does provide you with all the support in terms of technology, in terms of regulatory frameworks to have those fundamentals right, use this as a stepping stone, and then go global.
I can see, Jigar, well, you just wanted to add something there. I can see you picking up the microphone to add something to that point.
In terms of how these free zones have enabled entrepreneurship, truly has created a revolt in some shape or form, because what you're seeing is, I don't think UAE is catching up. I think UAE is leading in terms of the initiatives. A lot of these initiatives are stemming from the regulatory frameworks that are being drafted by the free zones. The free zones allowing for digital KYCs before your mainland jurisdictions did here in the UAE. We have the free zones issuing digital documents and digital delivery of services even before mainland could do it. We had the free zones adopting ISIC revision 4 even before, for the activity list, even before mainlands could catch up. So I think it's a very healthy competition between the free zones within an emirate, which is then leading into a healthy competition between the emirates. And ultimately what you see is UAE does not build for UAE, UAE builds for the region. So you don't have a Dubai airport being built to cater to the residents of UAE or Dubai. It's being built for the region. And I think if there is a place to be, it's UAE.
Yes. I know what you certainly are pushed for time. I just want to get to some final points from you. We've heard about the opportunities, we've heard about the success rate, but in your experience, what are some of the mistakes that entrepreneurs make at the start? What have you witnessed when entrepreneurs are starting out a business and they might have the right idea and the right product, but what are some of the common mistakes that you see entrepreneurs are making when they first start out?
I think in terms of the mistakes that entrepreneurs are making, number one, in UAE especially, is that they're not networking enough. We are seeing a sense of starting of the VC industry here in the UAE.
Yeah.
But in all true honesty, it's at its infancy stage. If today an entrepreneur wants to raise funds, yes, you have the options of government grants. Yes, you have the option of debt financing through the banks. In the true sense, from a global perspective of an entrepreneur, I see that from a VC industry perspective, we are at infancy. One good way that entrepreneurs would be able to raise funds here in the UAE would be through networking and attending forums such as this, because I'm sure there are investors out there and there are budding entrepreneurs waiting to unleash their vision onto those investors. Go out there, network with the right people, use them as your sounding boards, get some mentorship done in order to not fail.
Yeah, your network is your net worth. Isn't that the old saying? And I can just see you just want to add something. Yes, please, Zabir.
Yeah, 10 seconds more. What I've observed in the last 2-3 years is the nature and the degree to which family offices here in the country have evolved. Now it's the second or the third generation of people who are now willing to expand into, from the classical real estate investments into
diversify,
into IT, artificial intelligence, so on and so forth. And you'll see a lot of events happening in Abu Dhabi, in Dubai, wherein people come and pitch to these family offices, and that automatically helps to overall, as Jigar said, overall the venture scheme of the country as a general, and helps these people to have that confidence in the country that yes, we can raise funds, we can grow, we can expand.
Yeah, which goes to show you that in the generation someone's been successful and the next generation has got the entrepreneurial spirit and wants to diversify, sometimes with the more conservative parents. Dinesh, when it comes to the next generation, and we're seeing that with entrepreneurs, what's the importance of then having a legal framework, perhaps between a business or sometimes a family business, which can even be more political, or sometimes, you know, have a lot more issues given the family relationship at play with inside a business?
So yeah, as I pointed out, that obviously it is very important for you to understand that the way this country has evolved, there are a number of regulations for which, you know, you have to ensure that you are in compliance to the same, and you just need to have the right set of framework in place. It can be in terms of the policies, and it really depends on the nature of the business that you are conducting. You know, if you are operating in a free zone such as the IFC and ADGM, then obviously it has certain very stringent requirements of how to conduct business and how to have the right policies in place. So I think for the entrepreneurs and for the SMEs, they need to understand the need of the hour, which is to have a very robust sort of compliance in place, and that includes you know, disclosing the source of wealth, the UBO regulations compliances, AML, CFT compliances, because obviously the world is changing now, and you know, and this is how UAE is adapting to that change. UAE has been very quick in adopting to the important regulations there have been around the world, and it has played a very significant role in ensuring that there is no CFT concerns anymore. FATF obviously has been very satisfied with how UAE has introduced all these regulations. Yeah, I mean, for the new entrepreneurs and for the, you know, upcoming generation, they need to plan accordingly. They need to ensure that they are in compliance with the laws and regulations, and they need to have a robust framework of governance in place in their businesses.
Yeah, and I'm sure that, Dinesh, there's always a good law firm that can help people out with any of that,
absolutely,
any of that situation. I know Zabir wants to make a comment. To be fair, before I get to Zabir, did you want to add anything on that topic, Neelam? The idea that when you're working with new businesses and they're looking to start up and grow, you know, what are the right? I guess more so that what Jigar was touching on, the idea of some of the mistakes they made. What should they be asking a free zone to work out which free zone is right for them?
For the startups, they should focus to the activities of the free zone, and because each free zone has certain ecosystem, they give the environment for the forums, meetings, for investors and growth. So first things, they should reach out to the right free zone for their activity. And to add on to the mistakes, I would say they should well plan onto the cash flow. That's very important, where most of the businesses fail.
Yeah, it's the cash flow situation.
Sorry, just to add on to Neelam's point, I think it is very important to determine geographically where you want to be relocated, and also it largely depends on the kind of activity that you're engaging yourself in. If you are an importer or an exporter, you would want to be near to the port. So, you know, it could be Ajman, it could be Jebel Ali Free Zone. If you are a fund, then obviously you want to be in a much more regulated structure. So then DIFC DGM is the right choice for you. If you are a fintech business, then obviously there's Dubai Silicon Oasis, which gives a lot of incentives to the fintech startups. So it really depends on the nature of your business and your geographical requirement.
Just to sum it up, I think we did not touch upon the vibrant banking sector that we have. That kind of contributes a lot. The impact VO Bank has had on the overall entrepreneurial mindframe for entrants who are coming fresh into the country. It has played a significant role. Ria Bank in Ajman, Mashriq Neo. I think this has made the life of investors very, very easy and has, you know, built the investor confidence to a great degree. And I see in the next couple of years more such platforms coming in, and that will kind of help us as free zones and as partners who are on the dice to
create more opportunity.
To attract more people into the country in general and take it from there. Yeah,
as part of the business environment. Well, it's been a fascinating first up panel discussion. Can we get a round of applause for our panellists, please, this morning? Zabir Makhdoumi, the Director of B2B, the Channel Partner and Alliances of the Free Zone Authority of Ajman. Neelam Sharma, the Managing Partner of Nija Corporate Services. Dinesh Kazi, the Senior Associate for BSA Law. And Jigar Sagar, the Founder of TrueLive Holdings. Thank you very much.